Okay, so yesterday we looked at the perimeter of irregular shapes. Shapes where none of the sides were the same. Today we're going to look at what are called regular shapes, or more specifically, a regular polygon. So regular polygons or shapes have the same sides. So that means where all the sides are the same, they measure the same. So that's like an equilateral triangle, a square, rectangle, pentagon, hexagon, octagon, decagon, dodecagon, all of the gons. That means that those are regular polygons. Regular polygons mean all their sides measure the same. Now, since all their sides measure the same, you don't need to add up all the sides. What we do instead is we use a formula. So, because the sides are the same, we use a formula to find the perimeter. Remember to pause the video, make sure you've got all of this written down in your math notebook. All right, so what's the formula and how do we use it? Oops. Yeah, there you go. So rectangles have their own formula, and that is of course because technically not all four of their sides are the same. A rectangle has two sides that are long that are the same and then two sides that are shorter that are the same. So they have their own special formula just for rectangles. And that formula is P equals 2L plus 2W. What does that mean? Perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the W, the width. Now, L and W are very easy to figure out, and I use a cursive L, but you can use a capital L, oops, if you want to, because what's important here is that it doesn't look like a 1. So if you want to use a capital L or a cursive L, it's up to you as long as it doesn't look like a 1. Okay, so first of all, you have to figure out which one is the length, which one's the L, and which one's the W. So if you take a look at our rectangle over here, the length is the longer one. So which one's longer, 7 or 3? 7. So this is the L. If this is the L, the length, that means this must be the W. So now that I've figured out which one is which, I go back to my formula and I replace the L and the W with how much they are on my diagram. So P equals, 2 times, the L is 7, plus 2 times the W, which is 3. And now, more outside calculations. So, first, 2 times 7. So, put your 7 times 2 is 14, and then 2 times 3. Put your 3 times 2 is 6. Sorry, the board is being weird, but that's a 3, and that's a 2, and that's a 6. So, I've solved part of it, and remember, BEDMAS tells me I have to do times before I do plus. So that's why I did my times first. Now I can go back to my formula. P equals 14 plus 6. And then I just do the last calculation, the adding. So for rectangles, you times the length, you times the width, and then you add them together, and that gives you the perimeter. So in this case, 14 plus 6, 4 plus 6 is 10, carry your 1, 1 plus 1 is 2. So the perimeter is 20, and don't forget to put your unit of measurement on the last line. It's 20 what? 20 centimeters. All right, so that's how you use the rectangle formula. P equals 2L plus 2W. The perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. You do your times first, then you do your plus, then you've got your answer. Make sure you've got all of this written down before you move on, so pause the video if you need to. All right, let's talk about the things that are not rectangles. All the other regular polygons, all the shapes that have the sides that are the same, that are not rectangles. So you've got triangle, square, hexagon, pentagon, octagon, all the gons. This formula is what you use for them. P equals n times s. So all other regular polygons use P equals n times s, where n is the number of sides in the shape, and s is the length of one side. So here I've got a pentagon, right? It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. And each side is 24 centimeters. So I take my formula and I count. How many sides do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So instead of n, now I'm going to write 5. P equals 5 times, and how much is each side? That's what the s is, 24 in this case. So P equals 5 times 24. P equals n, the number of sides, which is 5, times s, how much is each side? 24. So I've replaced the n with 5, the s with 24, and now all I have to do is an outside calculation, 24 times 5. So 5 times 4 is 20, carry your 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus the 2 that I carried is 12. So 120, I go back over to my question, P equals 120, and this is where I put the unit of measurement, centimeters. So there's the formula that you're going to use for regular polygons that are not rectangles. You've got 2 formula you're going to use today. So make sure you've got all of this written down before you move on. Turn to page 6 in your folder and let's practice. So here's page 6. We're going to do number 4 and we're going to do number 12. So number 4 is a rectangle. It has L and W. The first thing you want to do is write down the formula. P equals 2L plus 2W. I'm sorry the board's being weird. So which one's the L and which one's the W? The L is the long one. So you look at your diagram. 7.9, 4.8, 7.9 is your L. So that means that 4.8 must be your W. Now that you know which one is which, you can go back to your formula and write it down. So P equals 2 times 7.9 plus 2 times 4.8. So there's your second line of your formula where you replace the L with how much it is on your diagram, and you replace the W with how much it is on your diagram. Now you do your outside calculations. So 7.9 times 2. 2 times 9 is 18, carry your 1. 2 times 7 is 14, plus the one that you carried is 15. You've got 1 decimal spot, so you're going to have 1 decimal spot. 15.8. That is a 5. There, that kind of looks more like a 5. Anyway, 7.9 times 2 is 15.8. Now you got to do the same thing with the next one. So 4.8 times 2. 2 times 8, 16, carry your 1. 2 times 4 is 8, plus the one that you carried is 9. You've got 1 decimal spot, you're going to have 1 decimal spot, 9.6. So you go back over to your formula. P equals 15.8 plus 9.6. So you did your times just like BEDMAS says to do. And then you do your adding. So now I need to add 15.8 plus 9.6. So you go back to your outside calculations. 15.8, 9.6, adding together, 8 plus 6 is 14, carry your 1. 5 plus 9 is 14, plus the one that you carried is 15, carry your 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. And of course we're adding, so you line up the decimals. So 25.4 is the perimeter of my rectangle. Don't forget to add your unit of measurement, in this case, centimeters. So that's number 1 on page 6. And now we're going to do an example of number 12, also on page 6, so that you use the other formula as well. So this is the rectangle formula. All your rectangles are going to look like this. But this one is not a rectangle. As you can see, it's not a square either. That's called a parallelogram. But all the sides are the same. So I'm going to move them forward. So I use a different formula for this. It's not a rectangle. So this one needs P equals N times S. Now remember, N is the number of sides, N for number, and S is the length of each side. This one tells me that S is 3.8, and all I have to do is count how many sides does this have. 1, 2, 3, 4. So P equals N is 4 times 3.8. So 4 sides times 3.8 centimeters. So I go back over to my outside calculations, take my 3.8, times it with 4. So 4 times 8 is 32, carry your 3. 4 times 3 is 12, plus the 3 that I carried is 15, and I have 1 decimal spot, so I'm going to have 1 decimal spot. So, as you can see, now that we're moving farther through the curriculum, you're going to be using all the stuff we've learned pretty much all year. Adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, all that stuff should come naturally to you now. So use your multiplication chart if you need to. When you're adding and subtracting, you line up the decimals. When you're multiplying, you don't have to line up the decimals, right? I put that 4 under the 8, it doesn't matter, because I'm multiplying and I don't put the decimal until the end. So those little tips and tricks you have to remember so that you're doing those outside calculations properly. All right, so the answer for 12, 15.2. So the perimeter equals 15.2 centimeters. Don't forget to put your unit of measurement at the end. So today you're going to finish page 6. So on page 6 you're going so let's see, on page 6 you're going from 4 to 17. And then page 7, 1 to 16, page 8, 1 to 9. Again, I know that this is like more complicated than maybe we're used to, but you know how to do every step. So just focus, just like bed mass, focus step by step. Okay, what do I need to do next? What do I need to do next? Just each step at a time. All right, so there you go. That's your Tuesday. Good luck.